thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, man.
Yeah, I'm happy we could connect like this and via via Zoom. And so you're in Calgary now, right?
I am, yes. I'm in Cochrane actually, which is like 30 minutes away from
Oh,
Calgary.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's
And what are
much
you doing?
quieter, and I don't like busyness,
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, it's easier here.
So what are you doing there if you don't mind me asking?
No, I don't. So, after I came back from Egypt, I have a house in Winnipeg that I got last year, and it's a pretty big house, and it's like just me, right? So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to keep living there. Like I knew that for a long time, and I wanted to leave. So one of my partners bought a house here. So I was like, you know what? Let me see if he'd rent me a room, and he agreed to do that. So I rented out my house there, and I've been working remote since October 2019. So really, like, I don't need to be anywhere
Yeah.
specific, just be anywhere, right? So it's like just much nicer having the mountains there. Uh, like I'm 20 minutes away from Banff, right? So it's
Oh,
beautiful.
dude. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm jealous right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, man. Like sometimes I just finish work around like 5, and I'm like, you know what? Like, let me just go like do the night shift there. Like it's nice to be that close. And yeah, I'm just trying it out. I've only really lived in Winnipeg, and it's been 7 years. So it's
Okay.
yeah, it's nice to just like try another place in Canada. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I can kind of relate to that. When I was in high school, I moved to Vancouver Island actually to go play football there. I was there for
Oh,
like
cool.
7 years, so I can definitely relate to you on getting out of the and getting out of Winnipeg and spending some time
And
there.
how was coming back to Winnipeg after 7 years in Vancouver?
You know what? It was all my family was here, so that for me was really nice, and I'm a huge
Of
family
course,
man.
yeah.
So, and two, you know what? I love this city. For some weird reason, I love this city so much. And I hate the winter. Like, don't get me wrong, that's awful.
Of course, yeah.
But a lot of my friends, people that I love very much, are here, so that makes it worthwhile for sure.
Yeah, same man. Like honestly, I love Winnipeg. Like I love Manitoba, not even just Winnipeg. Like I've
Yeah.
been probably like in every single campground within like a 3 hour radius, and I
Really?
yeah, like I love from like the White Shell all the way up to like Little Limestone Lake to like Sand Spirits. I never
Damn.
went
Okay.
south. I never
Yeah.
went south, but like north, east, west, went. Yeah, like when I say from Winnipeg to Kenora, whatever is between that, and then like Winnipeg to Brandon, whatever is between that. Winnipeg to like Little Limestone Lake, whatever is between that.
Dang.
I've covered.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Jeez.
love the outdoors, man, and and Manitoba is beautiful. Like 6 months of
Dude.
the year, it's like the best,
Six
right?
months of the year, yeah. 6 months of the year is beautiful, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So man, tell me, so kind of getting into things, just to give everybody who's listening right now, kind of an idea of what you and I are going to be talking about today.
Okay.
And doing a little bit of my research, just on some of the things that you've been doing. I mean, you're kind of all over the place. You're traveling the world. You're
Big
doing a
time.
lot of these incredible things. And so the real reason why I reached out to you was because I feel like what you're doing, like I mentioned to you yesterday, is you're in service of something bigger than yourself, right? And I
Yeah.
and I just found such incredible inspiration with that, and that's why I wanted to connect with you on this. So I'm really happy that you're here on this show. So if you
Thank
don't
you, and thanks
mind,
for inviting me. Like I
yeah, of
appreciate
course.
it.
So if you don't mind, the one thing that I ask everybody when they come onto the show is, what is the most important thing to you in your life? What is the most important thing, like bar none, to you?
It's my family, man. Yeah. So I have my mom, my two sisters, and my nieces. They're like they're the most important thing to me, hands down. Always been, always will be. Um, and then right after that comes like the health of the Red Sea, which is kind of like where I grew up.
Hmm.
And it was very sad when I went this time to see kind of like how the quality of a lot of the reefs went down. And we even like we're not hit by climate change yet. Like according to a lot of research that I did from a lot of universities on that coast, like yeah, like it's not even the reef there has been alive for has been in that area for so long, and that area has been used to a lot of heat throughout
Right.
history. So they're not really bleaching like the Great Barrier Reef, let's say, right? Because of the water being heated, because of the heat, they're bleaching
Yeah.
because of people just like throwing stuff. whether it's from like Saudi or Jordan or Israel, Palestine, or from Egypt, they're all just kind of like, or even from Ethiopia, like down like north, right?
Yeah.
All that stuff that they're throwing is just getting stuck there because there's just so much reefs in the sea, and that's what's killing it. That's what's bringing a lot of diseases, and then the diseases is really what's killing the reef.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so that's
So first and foremost, you would say is your family, and then branching off into that is your now I would assume new family, right? Because you're working with so many people on this and building relationships within a community that is trying to preserve. And how do you so the reef? So just kind of backtracking a little bit, based on like your answer to that, family first and foremost. What was it like growing up for you? Because where did you grow up, first of all?
Cairo, Egypt,
Wow.
born and raised. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So
So
then,
yeah, go for it.
then in Cairo, like, so you were there from, well, I'll let you explain the story.
Okay,
So
yeah.
you were
So
born in Cairo.
I was born in Cairo. I did all my schooling there, and then I really got into. I was lucky enough to live kind of close by to the sea, so it's
Okay.
kind of like it's in Cairo, but even Cairo is like it doesn't have a sea inside the city, but like 2 hours, and you're starting to hit the Red Sea. Uh, my family always like really loved the sea, so they used to go, especially the Red Sea, right? They used to go a lot, and then I was a hyperactive kid, so I'm like, so they wanted to just like keep me busy because whenever we would go on these trips, I would just like be all over their head, like let's do this, let's do that, and they just want to
Mhm.
relax. So they'd just be so it's really started with windsurfing. My family did it, and I was like I think 7 or 8 at the time. So we went on one of these trips. They did windsurfing. They didn't allow me to do it because I was too young. I kind of like got pissed. But that was kind of like the start of fascination with like water sports. And then when I was 10, I did my open water diving course, and that was like kind of like the first age. Like once I turned 10, 11. I don't remember. It was either 10, 11. Once I turned that, I was like, hey, I need to do this. And then I did that course in one of the most beautiful spots in northern Egypt. It's called Mars Alam. And I just, I kept going. I kept loving the diving until grade 9. And in grade 9, I had a physics teacher, and he was a windsurfer, and he would just kind of like getting the class, like just letting them know like he does that, and then he would take out like a camp. He's like, yeah, I'm doing like a camp this summer, and if you want to come like learn windsurfing or
Mhm.
whatever, you should let me know. And so me and like 5 other of my friends in high school, we went, and it was just like the best experience I've ever had in my life, right? It's just the feeling of you're going on a board and you feel the wind, and you're just like, okay, I'm catching that wind, and that's what's making you go. That was like just mind blowing. And I already kind of loved everything under, but you like with windsurfing, it's much more adrenaline. Like diving is
Yeah. Yeah.
a very lazy sport. I don't even say sport. You just go down, you do your hands like that, and you're like, oh, that's very very cool, and it's very quiet. But with windsurfing, you're like going and you're like fighting with that sail, and it's throwing you like 2 meters in front, and like giving you scars all over your face, which I have a bunch of them. Uh, and then so that was grade 9, and then high school was pretty good. Came around grade 11, that same teacher was like, well, the new thing right now is kite surfing or windsurfing. So I'm like, okay, sick. I want to try it. So I tried it, and then I was just like hooked more than anything else. And I remember, so it was at that phase, right, where everyone is just like exploring. They want to like go out, like like do a little bit of drinking or whatever. And
Yeah.
I would finish. So back home, the weekend is Friday and Saturday, not Saturday and Sunday. And I
Oh,
would
okay.
just like, I remember like Thursday, I would finish school, get dropped off in the. It wasn't even a bus station. It was like a microbus station, which is a very small form of a bus. And I would take that. I would go to Suez, which is like an hour away, and then I would jump in another microbus that takes me to Ras Sedr, which is like another hour and a half away, and then I would take like a cab that would drop me somewhere, but like that I have to start now walking for like an hour. Well, not an hour. It's like a couple of kilometers. And I
Yeah.
would take all my gear, right? So I have my like bag, I have my board, and I walk all the way to the beach, and I just set up camp for the night. Wake up, it's Friday, and people just start coming to that place to kite surf. And that was my weekend. Like even my friends were just like you're not even with us in school anymore. Like I didn't. I didn't go out with them. I just that was kind of like my obsession, and I didn't want to do anything else. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't really interested in just like going out and like trying like new things and like partying with them. That age, right, when you're like 16,
Yeah.
17, and you feel like you own the world. So I'm like, you know what? No, like I'm good. I wanna do that. And so I did, and I kept doing that up until I came to Winnipeg. And funny thing, I actually chose Winnipeg because of the wind. We have a great windy
That would make
city, and
sense.
yeah. So then yeah, that's kind of what brought me to Winnipeg. I got accepted to the University of Manitoba.
Uh-huh.
Uh, I came the day I came was December 28th, 2013, and I don't know if you. And at that point, I had never seen snow like ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the day I arrived was the day the article was published of like colder than Mark's
Oh
Winnipeg,
yeah.
Manitoba.
You know what,
Yeah, it was
2013 was actually the year that I left Winnipeg. I was still there
okay.
for that, but 2013 was the year that I left. But I do actually remember that the day you get dropped off, and then
Hardcore winter.
they're like, it's colder than Mars today, and you're just like, sick,
Yeah,
this is where I'm at.
and you know what? Like I honestly was so like I didn't really do my research properly. I was like, okay, you know
Right.
what? There is wind, and I looked at like Lake Manitoba. I'm like, that's huge. There's no way this is gonna freeze. I was just arguing with my parents. I'm like, there is no way this is gonna freeze. Look how big that lake is, right? And they're like, okay, you know what? Like, we just don't want to
Oh
argue with you
man.
anymore. Like, go see it for yourself. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, like it's gonna be sick. I'm gonna be like kite surfing and doing all that stuff. And then I remember I landed in Toronto and I went outside just to like feel the air. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's -1. I was like, that's not bad. It's pretty sweet. And then
Oof.
the pilot when we were landing is like, also the weather in Winnipeg is -35, and it's pretty chilly out there. So stay warm. And I'm like in my shirt and leather jacket. I had no idea,
No
right? Like,
way.
yeah, it was it was pretty crazy. So yeah, you know what? Like it was fine. I just looked up like a hostel to stay in for the first week until I get to university and the dorms, right? Like that's where I stayed for the first semester. But
Okay.
before that, I was staying at this hostel, which now I realized it probably wasn't. It was probably a good choice. Like I didn't feel the area was
I
bad
was
at the
I
time,
was
but
I was gonna say, man, a hostel in Winnipeg, that
oh
doesn't sound
man,
like the safest place to be.
Portage and Kennedy.
No way, dude.
Yeah, like like behind Portage Place. I had no idea. Like
Okay,
I was
okay.
like, yeah.
Just to give people like context of this hostel that he stayed in, it's like the ghetto. The ghetto's ghetto, and it's like it's pretty rough, and so just thinking of you coming to Winnipeg for the first time, going to a hostel, it's 35 below, like what dreams did you have after that? Like what was your mindset after that?
Honestly, man, I wasn't even phased. Like I just didn't know this was the ghetto. So I was like, okay, well, people are like, yo, you want some weed, bro? Like can I
Yeah.
have some papers? Like I thought I was just like, okay, like this is like, some parts of Cairo, like that's fine. If that's the city I'm in, that's the city I'm in. But then, I did some shopping in like Portage Place, and I started like maybe in the second or the third day in that hostel, I started like looking around, and I'm like, huh, like is this kind of like the regular? Is this like all of Winnipeg? And then like I only stayed there for like 5 days or four
Oh,
days
okay,
even,
okay.
and then yeah, so it
Still
wasn't it
though.
wasn't that long, and it didn't hit me until the last day. And then when I took the bus to like the University of Manitoba or whatever. And I was like looking, I had like all my bags, and I'm like looking around, which I actually lost my baggage in the Winnipeg airport, right? So I when I came in, I had nothing but my leather jacket. I had maybe like $200 in cash, and like everything else was in the
Oh,
luggage. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go like buy a jacket because I needed a jacket. And then yeah, you know what? It was fine. Like I wasn't really too phased by being there like right away.
yeah.
Um, but then I realized like a year in, when people are like, oh, like where did you stay when I come? And then I tell them, and they're like, holy shit, like this is rough. And I'm like, yeah, right. Like now that I see like other parts of the city, I then recognize that this is a rough part. But I think I fit it in. It wasn't too bad.
Well, you know what, man? It's a good story to tell of your like beginning in Winnipeg and how that all
Yeah,
started.
yeah, of
So
course. Of course.
then, what did you take in university? What was the goal?
So I just went for like a business. I wanted to get into Asper
Okay,
initially.
okay,
So for international student, they have a program in the University of Manitoba called ICMs. It's like the International College of
yeah,
Manitoba. It's pretty much U1, but smaller classes, kind of like helping us get in the dynamic of it all without like putting us in a whole class with like 100 people. They're like, okay, just like 25 or whatever. You get more like one-on-one time with the instructor.
hmm
So I did ICM for a year, and then you know what? Like my GPA would have gotten me to Asper, but I was like, I heard at the time about University of Winnipeg and like how they do like a 3-year degree. I'm like, do I really want to stay in school for like 4 years? It's already super expensive, like for international students. I don't know if you have
yeah,
any
yeah.
idea, but it's
Oh
like
yeah,
3 times as much as a Canadian or as a permanent resident.
yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Okay, let me like shortcut it. And then I spent the first year in University of Manitoba. I went to University of Winnipeg, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Business Administration and a minor in liberal arts and religious studies, which I
Okay.
love like more than anything. But I always wanted the business side too, because I had already started a marketing agency at that point, and like business was going. So I was like, hey, might as well like need to get that part done, and then
Yeah.
I'll do a minor in whatever I'm interested in. I'm hoping at some point I just go back. I'd love to go back to university and just like study philosophy and be like, oh, like what about all the questions in life? And like I'd love to do that, but it's just, yeah, it's not the time for me yet to do that.
Fair, fair.
Yeah,
And I think with all philosophers in history, they usually articulate their time very well and when they go through it and what time that they choose to do that. So I think
absolutely.
maybe soon, maybe later on, but when that time
Yeah,
comes, I'm sure it'll be sweet.
yeah, for
So
sure.
so now kind of learning a little bit about like how you came to Winnipeg and you growing up and how important windsurfing was to you and being by the ocean and by the Red Sea and how that impacted your life. So now moving forward, one of the things that we touched on before is how did you find your passion for what you're doing now? And if you can explain to people what it is you do now, like what is your main first and foremost focus?
Of course, yeah. So it was all a coincidence, really. So I about summer 2017 in Lake. You remember Adrenaline Adventures?
Yes.
Like they had the, yeah. So I when I came to Winnipeg and Manitoba, I kept doing that stuff. It took me a year and a half to like save up for a car, 2 years to save up for a car, and then I started going every weekend, like St. Ambrose, like Grand Beach, Lake
Yeah.
Manitoba, like all over the place. And in the summer of 2017, it was, yeah, Grand Beach. I crashed pretty bad, and I felt kind of like a thing in my knee, and I was like, okay, that's not good. I went to a doctor in St. Vital, and he was like, your knee is beautiful. Like if you can handle the pain, you can keep on going. So like a week after, I go to Adrenaline Adventures to do some wakeboarding, and I crash again, and I tear my ACL. So that was 2017. I tried to get like on the waiting list and do like the surgery, but then Pan Am told me that it could be a year. So I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to wait that time. At the time, my company was working with a clinic in the States that it's called Rejuve Medical, and they offer like stem cell treatments and
Oh
PRP. And I
wow.
knew one of the products. Yeah, I knew one of the products was about like ACL. So I called them up and I'm like, listen, man, like this is what's happened to me. Like, are you down to do like some barter? So I could get these injections, and then I'll give you the work for free. And
Yeah.
I was able to convince them, and it was sick. So I went down to the States. I got to the stem cells. It was like a whole week course. It was stem cells, PRP, prolotherapy, PRP, prolotherapy. And then it was like a
Wow.
whole week. And then I went a couple more times to do it. So I finished my injections around the end of the last injection I got, I think, was March 2018. And then, I'm good. I was rehabbing. My knee was good. I was hiking. I was backcouch surfing and all these great things. My quality of life was good again. And then in the fall of 2019, I was at the Goodwill, literally with a beer in my hand and like slowly dancing with a couple people. And my knee just does this thing, and it gives away. And all of a sudden, I'm like on my butt in the middle of the dance floor. And I'm like, oh, I
Oh my
haven't
word.
healed. So from there, I decided, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to Egypt. I'm going to get the surgery there. It was very hard really to get the surgery here because of, like, I don't have family here. And there's like 3 weeks
Right.
where you're pretty much dependent on other people to do everything for you. So
Hmm.
I really don't know how I would have gotten it done without like my mom and my sisters by my side. But anyway, so I went back in January. I got the surgery. I was rehabbing. Things were good. I was working, and then COVID happened. Uh, COVID came in, and it kind of like at the time we kind of like I went through a merger with my company. My company was merged with Vantage Studios, which is
Okay.
yeah.
I know.
So
I know.
and
I know
that's
who they are. Yeah.
Vantage, yeah. So we're still like that's still the case and everything, but the difference is when I was running my company, we worked with a lot of clients on low budgets. When we went to Vantage, we were like, okay, we're only going to work with like 5 or 6 clients that have big
Big.
budgets.
Yeah.
And what Corona happened, when COVID happened, uh, our most significant ones kind of like, they were like, hey, we can do, they were severely affected by their gym, they're the national gym, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, all of a sudden they were like, hey, we gotta pause our services. And since I started tag marketing in my second year in university, it's always been like I was just hustling, right? Like 12-hour, 14-hour days, and then I had school. I was working at Skip the Dishes full time. I was project manager, so I would go to Skip at like 7 in the morning. I would finish Skip at like 3. I would go to the gym from 3 to 5, and then at 5, I'm at my office. I used to work from a co-working shared, like a co-working space.
Okay.
And I'm there at like 5, and I'm there from 5 to 11. And next day is just the same thing. So
Oh wow.
that was my dynamic for. Don't get me wrong, I loved it. I'm intense, so I
Yeah.
like intense.
Yeah.
I like intense lifestyles. Like I don't mind that at all. But what happened when we lost that work, I was for the first time in I don't know like 4 years, I actually was like, shit, I can breathe and I could think about like
Hmm.
and reevaluate and do all that stuff. So I started. So I started doing that. I was still kind of rehabbing. I was putting a lot of time for my knee. When everything kind of went down, and I don't know, that might make you a little bit jealous, like just because like Egypt, as I said, beach is really close access. So I went like March
Well, actually,
25th.
I think we were following each other, or I was following you at that point already, and I remember like keeping up with your stories too as well. I was like, I think I do remember seeing that. I can't remember quite, but I do remember seeing a lot of your posts and stuff like that of the beach, where
Yeah,
you were living.
yeah.
I'm like,
It's
wow.
easy access, man. It's easy access. Yeah. So I went and stayed there for a month and a half, for 6 weeks. I was just like, you know what, man? Like, I'm just gonna like figure out, draw all my life again. I had a stretch of 15 days where I would wake up in the morning, do a business model, do a business plan, do a marketing plan, go so deep in it, go to sleep, wake up, hate it, cut it out, start again. And I went through like 15 different exercises, and I knew some of the things I wanted. Like I always in the back of my head, I always wanted to start a kite surfing school. I always wanted to work on the beach. I always wanted to have a bigger purpose and meaning. I work a lot on myself and in personal development, so I know this stuff is important. But
Hmm.
and I always worked on it, but all of a sudden that's all I had, right? I was working maybe like 10 hours a week on my marketing company, but other
Yeah.
than that, there wasn't really much work. And it wasn't a good time to like really sell either, right? So
Yeah.
we're just
Yeah.
like I went from having 60, 70 hour work weeks, which is what I'm used to like having 50 hours of my week that like, yeah, I don't know what to do now. So anyways, I started hustling, kind of like putting up ideas and with putting all these things in mind. At the beginning I was like, okay, I know I want to do something, but you see, I know it was always a kite surfing schools, but there's so many out there right now. Like you're driving down the coast, and like honestly like every 10 kilometers there's going to be a new school. So I was like, hey, that's not something different. That's not really a
Right.
big purpose. It's going to be fun, but I know I'm going to get bored. So then I started thinking, okay, what if like I build a brand and sell something, and then take some of that and I think the whole thing started with just me. I went snorkeling for the first time in like a year and a half that I haven't been back. And the reef was kind of like 50% dead. Like it was just weird. It would have like a really colorful part, and then it would be like a patch of black. just dead. Like it's some disease that it's probably just gonna keep
Wow.
spreading. So I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, that didn't look like that, because we used to go like anywhere and
Yeah.
just be like and have a blast, even if it's like a small house reef that you could see it all in like 10 minutes or whatever. We would still be like amazed by the thing you see there. But there's not nearly as much fish and there's not nearly as many colors. So I knew something wrong was happening.
Hmm.
So then I was like, okay, like how can I help this? And I was like, okay, let me do a brand and put some of the profits back into or put all the profits back into like kind of cleaning the sea or whatever.
Hmm.
And then I was
Hmm.
like, okay, but that's not big enough. But I didn't really feel that was big enough. And then one of the days I was like, I don't know, I was just working on my laptop. I was in by the Red Sea, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm just gonna go. And then the beach had like so much like plastic bottles. It was COVID, so
Right.
no one was really maintaining anything, right? And they just keeps throwing garbage. I'm like, okay, like you know what? Let me go collect some garbage. I don't know. It just came like that. So I did it, and I didn't have any garbage bags, but I was able to find perfectly good garbage bags, fill them up, and then by the time I filled them up, I found two perfectly good garbage bags that I could fill up more garbage in. That's how much stuff was there. So I kept doing that maybe for like in about 30 minutes, I had like three full bags
Yeah.
of just like
And
and
this was
that's not
and this
even
was in Cairo, right? This is where you were living at the time?
not living. So this was in Sinai, which is a couple
Oh,
hours
okay.
away.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a couple hours. I don't know if it's north. I don't think northwestish. I
So
think no.
okay.
I think it's just north. Yeah, or south. I don't know, man. We don't really use that
That's all good.
the directions. Yeah, it's under Cairo. It's like one
Okay.
of the first cities in the Red Sea from the Sinai side.
Okay.
And this is my kite hometown. This is where whenever I was telling you the story about how I used to take this bus,
Right.
then this bus, this is where I would go, right?
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So that's the same place, and it was never that dirty. I think it just blew up, and a lot of people got there, and there's a lot of ships that pass through there to go into the
Oh,
Suez
right.
Canal, and I think they just dump stuff like pants and shoes and just like things that are just not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
So
And all
anyways,
stuff like that gets just washed up, right? Like it just
washed
gets
up
washed up onto the beach.
if we're lucky. If typically what most of them I think get stuck in the reef. They're
Oh
not
my
even gonna
word.
make it. They're just gonna catch a part of the reef and then they're there forever. Yeah,
Wow.
it sucks. It sucks. Um, but anyways, yeah. So I did that, and it was sunset. So I was like, okay, like let me take a dip, and man, like I just saw like 7 or 8 dolphins, like not even that far away. And we have a lot of dolphins there. Like it's not uncommon. What I saw,
Okay.
it's a home for them. It's not like, oh, this is great. Like people see it there, like I don't know, like once a month, twice a month, easy.
Okay. Okay.
But they were so close, like so close. And I was standing, water maybe till here, and they were
Hmm.
like, like whatever, like 50 meters away or whatever. So I started making noise. There's this noise that when you're growing up there, they tell you if you see dolphins and they want them to come to you, you just like, it's kind of like a thing you do in the water anyways.
Okay.
Yes, you do that, and then supposedly that's gonna attract them. I don't know if it happens, but anyways, I did that a couple of times and it attracted them. And in like 30 seconds, I had like all these dolphins going around me, and I'm just seeing their fins, and I'm like scared because my knee's still not healed. So I was like, okay, like I have to lay down on my back because I don't want them to hit it, right? And
Yeah.
they're just going around, and I stayed with them for like a good 20-25 minutes until there's
Wow.
this Italian girl that was working there, and she was just like coming, wanting to swim with her. She's like making all this noise, and then they left, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I could have probably pulled this for another like 20 minutes, but they but they got scared and left. But at that point, I was just like, shit. Like I just cleaned the beach, and
Yeah.
I just got rewarded. Like, and for me, this is everything. Like an interaction like this, for me, honestly, you tell me like I'm gonna give you $100,000. If you tell me I'm gonna give you a million, I'll take a million over that. But if you tell me I'm gonna give you $100,000, I'm gonna be like, you know what? I want that experience the same way versus like taking
1,000.
that
Yeah.
away from me. Yeah, and giving me the $100,000. Like I'm this for me is literally like these interactions are so rare and so genuine and so pure, and they like energize you. Like I was feeling inspiration in my toes after this whole thing. It was like just
I believe it.
everywhere, man. I was just like shaking for like a day after. I was just like, this is sick. Um, so I went up and I'm like, hey, that's it. I just need to clean it. Like that's all what I want to do. I kept moving forward, and then that's really when I built the one business model that I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick with that one. There's gonna be another iteration of that one versus like try a brand new idea. So I kept cleaning, I kept meeting people, I talked to a lot of people, and the biggest gap I found was that a lot of these communities in the Red Sea, a lot of these remote communities, they don't have waste management. Whenever they do have waste management, what pretty much happens is that, okay, whatever, imagine a kite surfing school, they're a restaurant, they have food, they have products they sell, they have all this stuff. They put all that stuff in bags and then give it to whatever compound or whatever resort they're renting from. What this resort does is simply take these garbage bags, look at where the mountain is, and then just climb a mountain and throw them on the other side. And I actually went up one of those mountains, and it's like just a dump. It's everywhere.
Seriously.
And all what it takes is a storm. All what it takes is, and it's not even they're doing like proper landfill. It's bags and bags and bags of garbage. Like that's all the resorts do there. That's all what the kites, and it's not like they have another option. Like I'm not saying that they're bad people. They're just, the government doesn't provide waste collection in this area. It's for them, it's too, like, it's not that populated, and they're like, you know what, like mind you, Cairo, we have a really good system for, like, Cairo is not a dirty city. We like 80% of the plastic in Cairo actually gets recycled versus like 9% in Canada. But you go out of Cairo and it's 0%.
Oh my word.
So yeah, I saw all that and I'm like, okay, well, no one is gonna collect that, and you know what, like, it's probably like not even sanitary for anyone to be close to this. And again, what it takes is some wind coming up, throwing that wind, throwing all this garbage back to the sea, and it's just an endless cycle. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna take all this garbage and I'm gonna leave it in the garbage can. It's just gonna keep working. So the circle is not even closed. Like, it's just the same garbage is gonna keep piling up over and over and over. So the biggest thing I saw that was like a waste management company with recycling as like its main thing. I've met a lot of people. I started talking to the Ministry of Environment over there, and I made a lot of connections in my time there. But then, you know, I took a few pictures and I went and like cleaned so many, and I would just go like where everyone is kind of like just hanging out on the beach and like leaving their garbage behind. I would just like go down and like pick up their water ball and just look them like dead in the eye, right? Like, you shouldn't leave that here, man. Like, take it with you, right? And I would just keep going. A couple of people were like, oh, like, are you like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm just cleaning, like, because you guys, like, no one like picks up after themselves. But it's funny, you clean in the morning and you go back in the afternoon and it's there again, right? Like, it's just people. So I just started. I was like, hey, like, there's a few things that I need to do. First and foremost, I need to, because a lot of these people that are there, I'm sure that if they really understand the consequences of them leaving their coke behind, or they're not gonna do it. And that's kind of my bet, right? My bet is that if you really know what it does, if you really understand that this bag you're gonna leave might be stuck in a reef in Jordan, 300 kilometers down the line, and killing a bunch of corals, and that could be potential. And I'm sure that most people don't even realize that we get more oxygen from corals than we get from trees. Like, corals give us 70% of our oxygen, and the more trees are burning down because of the forest fires, the more we are dependent on corals to breathe. So it's not like they're cool to look at, or no, they're there for a very strong function. And like, without them, you're gonna have like tsunamis, and not to mention just like the industries that depend on it. I want to say, like, so many people in Egypt are dependent on tourism, and if we don't have the Red Sea corals, we lose like a huge part of our tourism. Yeah, sure, people are gonna still come look at the pyramids, but they spend a day there. They spend 2 days there, and then they spend another 2 days checking out all like the heritage site. But that creation is way more majestic than all the 7 wonders combined, right? It's a whole city. And I don't know if you ever been or had a chance to see a live reef in action. It's like, it's a city, man. They're like, fish are waking up in the morning, like they're hustling, they're feeding their people, like for real. it's so alive, and
Yeah.
every small organism there serves a purpose. Excuse me. So I was like, okay, like that's what I want to do. This is a like it's not like I can just do that right away. There's gonna be
Yeah.
a lot of fights I'm gonna have to go through, especially in Egypt. Like it's obviously like a little bit corrupt, right? And it's not
Hmm.
like every country there is. Like Canada is very special. I know that there's corruption here as well, but Canada is kind of like leading the world, and I
Yeah.
see that coming from another country. But yeah, we definitely have corruption. I know that it's not going to be easy for me. So right now, all really what I'm working on is I'm trying to gain audience there. I'm working on making some type of blog, or I'm working on a blog to do, and with that blog, I'm gonna start targeting people in Egypt, and you know what, like in Canada too, just based on like my audience currently is mostly in Canada, so I
Right.
know these people are gonna help me push it further. But I want to focus on, yeah, first educate the people on like, okay, what does the reef really mean? What function does it serve? Why do you have to take your garbage with you? And then even if you're gonna recycle, like I'm sure a lot of people recycle, but like that so many things, even the things we recycle in Canada, we never actually end up getting recycled because
Hmm.
we discarded them wrong. So like if your Coke can still has like a little bit of Coke in it, and you just threw it in the recycling bin versus like taking it in, there's a very high chance this is not going to get recycled.
Yeah.
If the water
Because
bottle,
they
so
have like
so
individual people who go through it, look at it, and then they like choose, right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
sorting part of it all. So they
Yeah.
go in and they're like, okay, well that's not sanitary, or that has a little bit of food. So things that I had no idea of. So now like I'm like doing my tomato sauce, and I'm like cleaning
Scrubbing it
it
out.
like
Yeah.
as if, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just cleaning it as if I'm cleaning my own cup, and then finish cleaning it and putting it in the recycling in hopes that the person on the
Yeah.
other side still sees it as like, okay, I can recycle that. Which is crazy, right? Like I find it still so like stupid how we like go about it, because it's just bad, and the production is doubling like every 5 years. It's doubling, and we are on a trend right now, and if we maintain this trend by 2050, like legit, there will be no fish in the ocean, and that's just
Hmm.
the ocean part. I'm sure there's so much other like bad and negative, like climate change, like all that stuff. We're not even talking about that. We're just talking, and I know they're all interconnected, but
Yeah.
it's nothing like having it. Yeah, we're just talking about like a very small part of it. It's gonna be
Hmm.
it's so much more than that, and just this small part gives me an anxiety. So looking at this whole thing, it's like, holy shit, right? We have to,
Yeah.
something needs to change. We have to do better, right? it's
Hmm.
it's it's not sustainable.
I think everything of like what you said is again like the bigger reason why I wanted you to come onto the show, because you're so passionate about this, and you're actually doing something about it, which I love, and which
Thank
is
you.
why I want to support you. I want to give you a voice here on this platform. Whoever listens to it from either when it gets published or 5 years from now, that it's out there. But I just want to say one of the things that because I'm a personal trainer. I work with many people, and I have this one client. Her father was an environmental scientist, and I was talking with her about something, and I asked her. I said, looking back, like she's about 49 or 50 or so, and I said, looking back when you were my age, 20, 22, whatever. What was something like what looking back were you focused on, and now looking back, what do you wish that you were focused on? And she said, well, I wish I listened to my father more about the environment and what we could do differently and all these things. And because like this isn't new conversation, right? This isn't like a thing that's so widely unknown. It's just we're ignorant to it, or it just seems like a lot of work that a lot of us aren't willing to either do or contribute in, or we think our lives are too busy and we can't do anything about that. And I think what you mentioned, how COVID kind of slowed everything down, it gave you time to really focus, and then you had those experiences to really figure out again what your passion is, which I think is really incredible. So
Thank you.
so with that being said, written down here I have, how are the things we do on a daily basis, like how can we now, like knowing what we know, and like I just said, this isn't forbidden knowledge, this is common knowledge.
Everywhere, of course. Yeah.
So so from like a person standpoint, a one-on-one standpoint, what is something that you would ask people to start doing or being aware of just operating on a day-to-day basis? What are changes that we can make in our daily lives for this?
Honestly, man, it's a lot, and I've said it before on my channel. Like, there's not one person, one company, or one country can even like begin to start fixing this problem on their own. So, example, are you aware of 4Ocean?
No, no, I'm not.
So 4Ocean is probably like the driver. Like, I love this company. They're amazing. They have these bracelets, and then for every bracelet you get, they remove the pound. They remove a pound from the ocean. And and they're attacking like the real stuff. They're attacking the garbage patch. And like, let me pull up like the actual numbers. But so they just celebrated their 10 million pounds,
Okay.
right? So um, they picked up 10 million pounds, and every year, uh, I think the number is 50 million, 8 million tons of plastic enter our
Holy.
ocean every year. They've been operating for 4 years, and right now there's 150 million circulating in
Right.
the ocean or in marine environments in general. It took them 4 years, and I kid you not, they're huge. Like, they're endorsed by like the really big guys like Kylie Jenner. Like, and I wish that they
Okay.
keep scaling and keep getting. Okay, Kylie Jenner is not a good example, but they're endorsed. You know what? I don't even know how she looks like, but I know she was wearing one of their bracelets. I saw it in one
Right.
of their posts.
Just
But they're
people with
endorsed.
influence for
Yeah,
sure.
they're endorsed with really big people, and for me, it's like they're such an inspiration. They're so big, and they're scaling. And in 4 years, they did 10 million. We throw like 8 million a year, and that is like just the initial numbers. Like, that's just the numbers we know of. I know
Hmm.
that, for example, you're probably not getting any data from Egypt. I know you're
No.
probably not getting any data from most of the African countries, because we don't calculate that stuff. We don't know
Yeah.
how much plastic we're producing. We don't know how much. So this is probably just states in Canada and like some advanced countries in Europe, and that's where the 8 million comes from. All the other places, it's not even getting counted. So coming back to your question, there's not uh, there is obviously a lot we can do, and I think it's key that we all try to do these things. So things that I have changed, and like, man, like a year ago, and this is like a bad thing to say, but like a year ago I wasn't even recycling. We don't get
Mhm.
educated about it in Egypt. I had no idea about its importance when I was growing up. I was too busy to even like think about it. So I was just like, yeah, of course, if I have like a plastic ball in my hand and I see a recycling bin in front of me, I'm gonna throw it. But if I don't, I'm just gonna throw it
Yeah.
in another bin, right? Like, I'm not gonna care. Uh, but yeah, things that like littering, especially when you're like when we go out on trails here, I still see like people leaving their like uh water bottles, and I'm like constantly like trying to get them, but now with COVID it's a little bit tricky, so I try to
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
keeping my gloves, and even if I don't, I'll still pick it up and just put it in my pocket and use the sanitizer and be like, hopefully that person didn't have COVID, like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
um so obviously like littering is huge, just like especially like if you're in the city, chances are maybe it'll get picked. If you're outside the city, if you're on a trail, if you're by the beach, if you're anywhere, chances are it's gonna stay there forever, like
Hmm.
forever, like as
Hmm.
long as it takes to decompose, which is like a couple thousand years. So littering is big. Please, we shouldn't litter at all, no matter what. Recycling is another big thing, and as I said, it's important that we, and recycling starts from really like the grocery haul. So whenever I'm doing groceries right now, I'm like, I'm trying my best to get the things that can get recycled, because with food there's a whole
Okay.
tricky part about like, okay, if this had food in it, a lot of these wrappers and stuff, they shouldn't, according to Canadian code, they can't get recycled because
Hmm.
it's food, and there's something about that. So I try to like make sure that this can be recycled, and you know what, like if I really want it, I'm gonna get it. Like,
Yeah.
what can I do, right? Like sometimes it's just you have to. So it starts with that, and then if you're gonna buy something that is recyclable, make sure that you like wash it. It doesn't don't give them any excuse not to do it, because
Right.
again, I'm sure Canada puts much more than 9% of its plastic in the recycling bins, but we actually only recycle 9% of all the plastic. So
Which is
there is
crazy.
yeah, there is a big a big gap. And I think it's just because there hasn't been enough awareness, and there hasn't been enough
Right.
people saying like these are the things you need to do. Recycle Everywhere has like
Yeah.
a list of like, hey, these are all the things that can be recycled. These are all the things that shouldn't be recycled. And I think everyone should have a very just like basic understanding of that, and take the extra minute to just like wash whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
you're eating. And if you have, just make sure you recycle it. And it also starts with like consuming less.
Yeah.
So I used to buy water bottles like all the time. I kid you not, I probably haven't bought a water bottle since I came to Canada. I bought
Seriously.
one on my way from Winnipeg to Calgary because I couldn't.
Bring
They
your
wouldn't
own.
let me
Yeah.
fill.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had my thing, but they wouldn't let me fill it because of COVID. And I was like, damn it. Anyways, so I bought one. So definitely consumption is just like huge. Just try to be almost like minimalist in it. Like if you don't need something, don't get it. And
Yeah.
if you're gonna buy a water bottle, just fill up your own. Just like small things like that will go far. Another thing I was just thinking about, I just lost it. Clothes. It's stupid the amount of clothes that we buy and
Mm-hmm.
then we just like throw away, or so all that stuff can be recycled into other things. So instead of going and buying a new cloth from Superstore, use your old t-shirt that you're not going to wear anymore, give it to someone else. Just maintain, like, make sure that every material and everything we buy, like, get every single drop out of it. And it's not stinginess or it's nothing like that. It's just like every time you buy a t-shirt, every time you buy really anything, you are putting more carbon emissions in the air. You are
Mm-hmm.
that there's a machine that's working and it's putting out stuff. There is packaging that's happening. There is a plane going from this place to this place to drop off the stuff. So it's just trying to consume less. And I'm not saying just like be like, don't buy anything, like
Yeah.
buy whatever you want, just make sure you use it and make sure
Mm-hmm.
you use it a lot. Something that's very common in Canada that I don't see in Egypt is the fact that we throw away so much food. Like you go to any restaurant or you go to like anything like that, and then you leave some of the, and I don't know, like this is just like my experience, and I first really noticed
No,
it
that's very
when I
true.
used to live. Yeah, I noticed it when I used to live in Res. Uh, there was like a meal plan or whatever included with my stay, so I went there, and man, like people were just like throwing like
It's
pieces of
disgusting.
chicken, and I'm like, bro, this is
Mm-hmm.
and you know what, like Egypt is Africa, so we hear a lot about all the people like starving there, and I'm just like, oh, so we typically just in food, at least food, we don't really waste much, but I see in here it's very common to like, yeah, just throw it out. It's like, no man, but it's not that bad. Yeah, but it's not that fresh anymore. Are you kidding me?
Man.
It's your mistake. It's your mistake for not buying it like at the right time or leaving it for too long. If
Yeah.
it's bad, don't make yourself sick. Like throw it, but try not to do it. Try not to do it another time, right?
Yeah, don't make it a habit,
That's
because even too, like you
yeah,
see somebody do it once, they've probably done it 100,000 times before that, you know?
exactly. So just better in small things like that. Like don't throw anything away. Just try to consume less things. Stay away from any like single. Like it's stupid to buy like these like solo cups and stuff like that. Like if you're gonna throw a
Mm-hmm.
party right now, just like give people your actual like glasses.
Or just don't
And
throw
I
a party
know,
right now. Try not to.
or
Try
don't
not
throw a
to.
party right now,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
COVID right now. I just meant in a more
Fair.
regular flow of life.
For sure.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, all these, and I, starting next year, we actually won't be able to buy that stuff, which is something that just went
Really?
through. Yeah, which is huge because petitions work. Because
Wow.
petitions actually
Okay, wait.
work.
So we're not going to be able to buy like red Solo, like plastic cups by next year.
So it's in like final stages of agreement, but I know that any single-use plastic, so plastic cutlery, plastic spoons, plastic plates, you won't be able to buy those for sure.
Wow.
Canada, they're all going to be banned. Any single-use plastic will be banned. Maybe they're going to
Countrywide.
do something countrywide. Countrywide. It's done.
Why is
2021.
this the
It's
first time
happening.
hearing about this? This is
Yeah,
wow.
it's So the first person I saw the post was the Instagram page called David Suzuki Foundation.
Okay, okay.
They post a lot of like news and stuff like that. And I went and verified it. And I had that petition on my bio for so long, like ban all single use. Because again, Canada is a leader when it comes to
Yeah.
that stuff. They need to do better so other countries start to do better. It's gonna be, you know how hard it is to make a decision like that. It's gonna be insane. You're probably gonna be like killed for actually moving something like that forward, because a lot of companies are going to lose money and a lot of big companies are going to lose money
Yeah.
and they're
Oh
not going to
yeah.
be happy about it. And if you're the guy behind it, like hide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
think
it's
I think that's like, because I was gonna say, like, you know, a lot of companies or just people in general kind of alluding off of this question, and it is like, so many people are scared to innovate, or so many people are like nervous to go further more. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of people are, but I can see this as kind of like why there isn't such more of a movement or more of a focus, is because one, there's not a lot of money in it. Two, if you do come up with something really innovative and it takes away from a money hungry industry, then your life is in danger. Not only is your life in danger, but your family's life, the people you love are, and that's the horrible thing. And
yeah,
so that's why I think, you know, like even what you're doing with the coral, and raising awareness for that too as well. I think that's really special, just in terms of like, it gives people the ability to innovate. Like you said, you came up with so many business plans and so many things to figure out what you can do and how you can, live purposefully through that or find fulfillment in that. I think that's a great opportunity to create innovation where innovation was not there before. So
yeah,
so
yeah.
kind of
and
coming.
and and you know what, like a lot of, sorry to cut you off, a lot of
No, no, that's
companies
good.
are doing great things. And I don't think that business is a business with no money. We do live in a capitalist society. So one of my main things that I want to do is that I need to be able to figure out how to make money sustainably. And
Hmm.
then once I can reach that, I can share that with the other companies. I can be like, you can still make your money, because without this, you won't be able to get anywhere.
Hmm.
Like you won't be, so that's, and that's where I think I can, because that's where a lot of my business background is. Like I've built companies before, I made companies profitable before, and they turned big, and they got mergers, and it was good. Like I've had a good run, I'm still having a good run. But and I know there are ways to make money sustainably. Like for example, 7 big water bottles will give you enough polyester for a t-shirt.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's one thing. There's a few companies that are doing like amazing things. Allbirds, it's a company that does shoes, and they get their materials from like wool, from eucalyptus, from wood, and they're turning them into sneakers. And they actually just closed like a partnership with Nike like not that long ago. It's like
Really?
a huge collab. Yeah, they're about to go insane. And there's also so many companies, and I have a list of like so many companies, especially in fashion, that you could
Hmm.
that they're doing it sustainably. They're taking, like plastic and recycling it. They're using wool from sheep and without hurting the sheep. You know what I mean? They're just
Hmm.
kind of like just shaving it and taking that wool and doing stuff with it. There's trees and as I said, eucalyptus. And every day there are people going around and finding how to make new products from recycle, because that's how you close the cycle. Like remember how we talked about that the circle is just infinite right now. We just need to
Right.
be able to close the cycle. We need to be able to say and prove that it's worth it for someone to go collect all this garbage, because now they can like upcycle it. as long
Right.
as long as it's not worth it, as long as we see it as garbage and not material, we're never we're it will never we'll never be able to kind of like move forward. Because
I like that.
again, we live in a capitalist society. We have to, like, money is a given.
Yeah.
Money is a given. It
Hmm.
has to, it can't be like, oh, I'm doing all that like charity work, and like I'm just gonna
Yeah.
go around and just like clean, but I'll be broke, and then I won't be able to do it, and I'll die out of starvation, or I'm gonna have to like live off like fishing or something, which is,
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people don't want to deal with that, and it's gonna stop them from doing it. But there is a way to make money out of it. There is a way to make money out of recycling, and it's big money. It's not like, so hopefully like my focus over like the next 5 years is to like be able to like, okay, like how do I build a model that is working and that is profitable, and it will encourage, because yeah, I can't tell them, oh, I'm gonna take $1 million away from your revenue, but you're gonna be helping the earth. I have to tell them, look now, like it's gonna stay the same, but you're gonna
Mhm.
have way less impact, and that's how you're gonna get buy-ins, and that's how you're gonna be able to go in and make them listen to you. But other than that, it's you won't be able to.
Hmm. That's very interesting. I think one thing out of that, what I took away, it was is changing the vocabulary on garbage to resources, right? Instead of
Exactly,
calling it garbage,
exactly.
it's resources to further
It
develop
is.
whatever shirts, like you said, or other materials that we use. And I think, us as human beings, we're so, you know, our perspective on things ultimately puts us in a position where we make mistakes, where we do things for long periods of time that don't benefit anybody else but ourselves in some way, shape, or form. And then we ultimately hurt something or someone. And I think, just like you've even spoken about traveling, seeing other places, growing up in Cairo or just outside of Cairo, or sorry, and then coming to Winnipeg and seeing like different perspective have obviously broadened your range of what you view the world as, and and how you see these problems, and that's what I'm so envious of, in that regard. And I think if there's anything, to take away from this episode is to change our perspective, or change, how we talk about garbage, how we talk about that, and then changing it from that garbage to resources. So kind of
Yeah, it
wrapping
is.
this
It
up,
is.
anything to kind of say off of that?
Uh, what I thought of after I finished talking is it can also generate electricity. There's a
Okay.
machine that you can put garbage in it, and then it can generate electricity. Uh, Something out of a I no, I don't think so. I am building that blog right now. I should be done by the end of this month. I'm gonna have another page that I have already kind of grew, but I still haven't marketed at all. So
Okay.
that is kind of just gonna be like focused on just ocean content and just ocean waste content and just resources versus like and I still have to balance everything, right? Because I'm still working in marketing. I still have
Hmm.
to do my job. Like it's not like I'm not at that point where I'm like, okay, like I gave up on everything I have. I'm
Yeah.
dedicating all my time into this. uh and yeah, so it's yeah, it's just hopefully when this stuff comes up and I start marketing. And I am not even hopefully, like I know that a lot of my audience, a lot of my community, and hopefully other communities that I can tap into will see the message, will understand the message, will share the message, and really like that's really all what we can do today,
Yeah.
with a bigger vision that we're going. So it's like almost like a path, right? And you just have to keep like riding that path. I would have loved to be able to go to Egypt right now and just like stay there and like stay keep on it, but I can't because of papers and
Yeah.
things in Canada. So I'm still sorting all that stuff out. Yes, I've been here for 7 years, but I'm still not a Canadian citizen.
Right.
And I'm working on it. So once I can get that all sorted out, and I like I'm going back there, and I'm gonna just put it all in.
Love it. Well,
Yeah.
man, you got my support, and I hope anybody
Thank
who's
you.
listening to
Thank
this
you.
episode also resonates with what you shared with us, and I really
Thank you.
appreciate that. So, kind of wrapping up this episode, and our conversation here, there is a Seif getting off of a plane right now. And fortunately, he's not getting off of a plane in the middle of January in minus
Yeah.
35, but he's getting off of a plane right now from wherever he came from. Let's call it Cairo. Let's call it Egypt. And he's just getting started on his journey. What advice would you give to Saif now, getting off of a plane and just starting his life out and figuring that part out for himself now? What advice would you give him?
Just don't in these big in these first years. I think the biggest thing for me, or one thing I don't regret, but I would have loved to have done it better, is that I said no to a lot of things.
Hmm.
I said no to, like a lot of times it was university time, and like I would get invited to all these like uh gatherings or whatever, or parties, and I'll be like, no, you know what? Like, I'm focusing on my business. I was 19 at the time. I took it too hard.
Yeah.
Um, so if I will go back in time, I'll be like, you know what, man, like, take it easy. You know, there's more to life than just like work. There's
Mm-hmm.
more to life than just hustling and running around and because I had a habit of just validating myself through what I do, and I don't do
Right.
that anymore. And it's been huge to me. Just like if I don't work today, I'm fine. I'm not gonna sit down and keep thinking like, oh my god, like I didn't work today, like I'm such a bad person. Like I'm not. I used to do that. I don't do
Yeah.
that anymore. So that's a huge thing. And like if it was me also like telling Seif back then, I'll be like, just learn a little bit more about recycling. Yes, they didn't teach you about it in Egypt, but everyone here kind of knows what it is. So uh, just be mindful of that. And yeah, because again, for the longest time, I wasn't even like, it wasn't even on my radar, right? It was
Right.
just like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm not gonna be like, if it's just me, like I'm not gonna do anything on my own. Like I doubt anyone else should, because I'm sure people do. Like it's big in Canada versus like other places.
Mm.
So yeah, take it easier. Take it easy. Life is not all about work, and yeah, don't if you have a plastic ball, throw it in the recycling bin, even if you have to. Even if you have to walk around with it for a couple of minutes, it's not the end of the
Yeah.
world.
Well, man, I love that. I love that. I hope that resonates with somebody, and somebody especially who's getting so caught up in their work and thinking that that's the end all be all. And I hope that that just gives them a little bit of self-awareness to kind of turn in and say, you know what, maybe I should take a little break and just be happy of where I'm at, what I got going on. So, Sif,
Exactly.
man, I appreciate you so much for coming on to the show.
Of course. And thanks
It's
so
a
much
lot
for
of fun.
having me on. That was awesome. That was actually a lot of fun. That was sick.
Good, man. I'm really happy.
Yeah,
I'm really
yeah.
happy. That's always my goal. I just want my guests and people who I have on the show to be happy afterwards. And so just kind of wrapping up, where can people find you and how can people support you?
Okay, so right now I'm just I think my only channel really is Instagram. So at
Okay.
Seif.Yousef underscore. I think there's two. Maybe
My
one.
my editor, he'll put it all in there. But
Okay,
if you just
okay.
want to verbally tell people where to go.
Yeah, so that's really all what it is right now. I am right now in a really good flow, and I have some pretty good short-term goals that are almost coming out of life. Like I just finished my website today, but that's all like that's more like marketing related. But I will be doing that blog, and I will be doing a YouTube channel very soon. I'll
Awesome.
just try to like keep those up, just create as much content as I can, learn as much as I can, and yeah, just follow me on Instagram, and if there's anything, I'll say it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good, brother. Awesome, man. Well, I
Cool.
appreciate you so much again.
Of
You take
course.
care of
Thanks,
yourself
man.
and we'll be
You
supporting you.
too.
That's for sure.
Thanks,
All right.
man. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care, man.